A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for watching KBC Channel 1. You are in time for Bizcheck. My name is Betty Kiptum. Over the next 1 hour, we shall be talking about matters cyber security. Now, according to Communications Authority of Kenya, in the second quarter of 2025, there were 840.9 million cyber threat events, which was a 27.2% increase from quarter one of this year. And we just want to figure out how Kenya, or what Kenya needs to do to build a thriving cybersecurity ecosystem. And to have this conversation is Alan Juma. He is a cybersecurity engineer. Thank you very much for joining us, and karibu.
Thank you, Betty. I'm happy to be here.
Karibu sana. Alan, we have seen the numbers have been increasing, especially in the past 5 years or so, and the rate has been higher in terms of cyber threats in Kenya. What do these numbers tell you?
These numbers tell us that, well, we'll start with the good, is that there's a lot of technological advancement in Kenya. There's a lot of internet connectivity, internet access, and more people, even the old and the young, are going online more and more. So that is a good thing. People are able to digitize their businesses and also take part in the global economy and also share in the global village. On the flip side, on the negative side, is that it means that because we are now doing more things online, we are becoming targets for malicious actors. Malicious actors, basically, these are people who are roaming the interwebs trying to cause havoc. And this does not mean that we'll be exposed to people within Kenya, within East Africa. It's a global village. So somebody in an Eastern European country will be able to have access to you or even target you. Yeah.
And so, according to the report by CA, the top attacks were AI-powered phishing campaigns, ransomware, and social engineering. Could you break that down for us, the people who are not in that cyberspace, yes, to understand so what these are?
The buzzword, AI.
Yes, yeah.
Everything nowadays is AI.
Yeah.
Jobs will be replaced by AI. People will lose their jobs by AI. But AI is here to stay. It's actually not just coming, it's already here. Right. It's helping businesses. But we've also seen that cyber criminals or malicious actors are also using AI for nefarious activities. So as you mentioned, the number one most attacks last year was AI-powered cyber attacks. So how do the attackers use AI to attacks? One of the most common attacks is what we call phishing. Phishing basically is me impersonating a trusted entity and trying to get information from you or get data from you unsuspectingly. So how hackers use this is because now we are more online, our data is online, we spend most of our time online, hackers know this. So they will go and build a profile on Betty Kiptum. I'll go to your LinkedIn, I'll go to your IG, I'll go to your X, I'll go to your Facebook, any digital footprint that you may have. Then I'll feed it to what we call an AI model, a generative AI model. And then it will come up with a convincing email, an email that is specifically targeted for you as Betty Kiptum. So that when you look at it, it will look familiar, it will look at, this is actually somebody who knows me. And this will increase the chances of actually you clicking on that particular link. Previously, what used to happen is I would come up with a generic email and blast send it. I think you've heard of the old attacks, that old emails that we used to call Nigerian prince scams.
Yes.
Have you heard of them?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so we have moved way past that. Now we'll specifically target Betty Kiptum or anybody who we want to target, and we will use AI, or attackers will use AI to specifically craft it, tailor make it for you. We also use automation as far as attacks are concerned. Like 3 years ago, there was a cyber attack in Kenya, a DDoS attack, that is a denial of service, distributed denial of service, whereby we were not able to access eCitizen and some government portals, as well as some private entities. Now that was also AI powered to some extent, because you are amplifying basically the attacks. So that is how hackers are using. Now, number two that you mentioned is ransomware, right? Ransomware, basically what is ransomware? It's a combination of two words, ransom and ware. Right. So ransom, basically, this is software. Once installed on your device, on your phone, it will actually hold your data at ransom until you pay a specific amount of money. Now, this is not only a preserve for big businesses. They can also target individuals like you, because your data is worth a lot. So they will hold your data at ransom until you pay a certain amount of money, and you need to pay it in what we call cryptocurrency. Now, not everybody knows how to get their hands on cryptocurrency. And one way it is really increasing nowadays is because, again, I said we are online, so we are clicking more, we are more exposed. The third most common type of attacks is what you mentioned is called
social engineering.
Social engineering.
Right.
Basically, social engineering is the art of cracking the human. In Kenya, we call it being a con man. the committee phone calls, you know, tuma pesa kwa hii number, all those things. But now it is done at a global scale. Social engineering basically is trying to prey on your emotions, on your innate tendencies to want to help so that you can do something for me. So, I mean, we have seen, I'm sure if I go to your phone right now, I'll see so many messages, send money to this, send money to this, people calling you. Yeah. So these are increasing because we're also sharing our data online. Yep.
So let's just walk step by step. You've given us quite some information. These AI-powered phishing campaigns, AI is relatively new, and it's been developing at a very rapid rate. And this is happening right now. What is to come in terms of the AI space and cybersecurity? Because these AI bots or whatever it is, they keep learning. They are learning every day from what we are chatting, what we are posting online, whatever it is, they are learning. So what is to come?
Well, what is to come is more sophisticated attacks, more targeted attacks, more large-scale attacks. But also what is to come is that us as the defenders, we will also take advantage of AI to help us automate the threat hunting process. What do I mean? Basically, in an enterprise environment, when I use AI, I can't be everywhere at the same time. I can't hire enough staff to cover my bases. So AI will help me have more boots on the ground, so to speak, so that they will scan the network, they'll scan my infrastructure for any indicator of compromise, basically indicating that somebody has entered my premise digitally without my authorization. So we will see a lot of attacks, but we also see us as defenders also shoring up and increasing our defenses. We also see a lot of businesses being targeted, but also a lot of businesses also gaining advantage because of AI. Yeah.
Of course, the demand is very high for cybersecurity, and we'll talk about the cybersecurity professionals challenge in Kenya in just a little bit. But that report showed that the main targets were government systems, financial institutions, healthcare providers, and education institutions with outdated infrastructure and undertrained personnel. When you look at these, Kenya, all the services, we are accessing them through eCitizen. Financial institutions, I don't know anyone who does not do mobile banking. You know, almost everyone is doing mobile banking. Healthcare providers, everything is virtual nowadays. You don't have to do any paperwork. So it means literally all our information is online and it is vulnerable. How do we ensure that, or these institutions, how do they ensure that, yes, we are moving to a digital age, but we are also protecting the data that we have or the information that we have?
Okay, it's very true. And unfortunately, as human beings, when we are faced with a problem, we want to throw money at it. Yes, money can help, but it can only do so much. How can we protect ourselves? How can these institutions that have been the most targeted protect themselves? Number one is what we say is embed security in your organization. Security should not be just left to two guys in a dark room, you know, doing God knows what and just saying, you know, we are safe. It should be it should be talked about, should be spoken about from the very top echelons, from the CEO level, from the board level, because actually a report that was done last year showed that one of the biggest fears of CEOs right now is cyber attacks. So it should be spoken at the very highest levels, so that this will set the tone throughout the organization. The other thing that they need to do now is to actually know how many devices do you have, because you can only protect what you know. If you don't know how many devices you have, if you don't know where your devices are, then you will be blind. You will say, I have 500 machines, but in essence, the hacker knows that you have 700 machines. And number three is what we call cybersecurity awareness training. It should not be done just a one-off. It should be something that is drilled into us. I'll give you an example. Cybersecurity should be as easy as using M-Pesa. I don't know whether you remember when M-Pesa started. It was a novelty. You know, I've heard stories about M-Pesa, how the then CBK governor was doubtful, but how he saw it was simple, he immediately gave the go-ahead. Cybersecurity should be made simple, not just a preserve for techies, but for everybody, because as long as you have data, you can be a victim. Yeah.
And of course, for these organizations, when you talk about awareness, they say that your systems are only as strong as the people using them. And so you will find that the cybersecurity training is maybe done for the tech department and not the entire company. Or you find that some people, maybe they don't have any tech, you know, leaning in their schooling. Then they come into your company and they're the ones exposing you. So from a personal perspective, please just give the viewer some tips on how to protect yourself.
Okay, how can you protect yourself? Number one is, I would say always be a skeptic. Always be a skeptic. Don't trust every phone call. Don't trust every link that is sent on your Gmail, on your Yahoo, on your, do people still use Yahoo? Yes. Or on your IG, on your X. Don't trust every link that is sent. And this is very difficult because as human beings, as I said earlier on, we have a tendency to want to believe. And especially the younger generation and the older generation. The younger generation, they might be a bit naive. You know, they've grown up with technology, they've grown up with IG. So clicking on a link to them is part, it's part of their everyday business. The older generation, again, they are not exposed, so they are vulnerable. So always be a skeptic. Number two is you need to do what we call password hygiene. I know this has been spoken about, it has been preached, and at the risk of sounding like a broken record on this show, I will say it again. You need to have secure passwords. Now, what human beings do, or Kenyans do, is you have one password for all your accounts.
And it's the birthday of someone.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, couple that with AI-generated attacks or AI phishing, and we can easily come up with a profile of what your password will look like. So I usually say, yes, you can have one secure password, but you can also involve what you call password managers. Right. It's akin to like having one key to every door in your house, right from the gate to the steel door, to your wooden door, to your connecting door, to your bedroom door. Very, very risky security. The other thing we need to do is what, especially for people who have online accounts, Gmail, or social media accounts, you need to have what we call two-factor authentication. I know it has been spoken about, but it actually does help. Why does it help? Because there are what we call password attacks. Password attacks basically is a malicious actor trying to get to know your password. They can do this via guessing or automating that particular process, or because we have a huge digital footprint, chances are high that in one of the sites that you registered, you use the same password and that site was hacked. So when what the hackers do is once they get that database of the username and the passwords, they put them in a public bin, in a public paste, or they can sell it online. So anybody can go there and just get Betty Kiptum, your passwords to this particular account. And because people know that we are creatures of habit, we like using the same password, I will try the same combination on different accounts, your Gmail, your IG, your X, your whatnot. And if you've not changed your password, then the attacker will have access to your account. However, when you have 2FA, 2FA basically stops that in the middle, because before you complete that login process, a code will be sent to your mobile device or via what we call an authenticator. Thereby, you will stop that attack in the in its tracks. You'll stop that attack in the tracks. So those key, three things: be a skeptic, 2FA, and password hygiene. Have good password hygiene. And also, it won't hurt to actually keep a track of how many accounts you have online. I know it's difficult, but yeah, it would be really good.
Right.
Yeah.
From an investment perspective, when you're talking about cybersecurity to, say, a small company, they are thinking of, how to balance costs here and there. So tell us, how expensive is it to ensure that you have cybersecurity, and why it is important to put it in there as a priority, as opposed to, when you're firefighting, when something has already happened. Yeah.
I look at it from this perspective. How much would a cost, how much would a breach cost you as an organization, whether you're big or small? What do I mean? How much would it take for you to recover from a data breach? Because you lose credibility, your public image will be tarnished, and chances are high that you will lose data, or worst case scenario, you will lose finances, like banks or whatnot. You may not really lose finances as a result of somebody stealing from you, but denial of opportunities to make money, especially for small businesses that are now trying to get online. If you can't make a sale, that's lost revenue. So I will look at it from that perspective. How much do you value your organization to protect it? So if you value it at a higher, if your valuation is high, then you didn't invest accordingly, right? So it won't cost you an arm and a leg to invest, but it will cost you a lot not to invest. So how can they do it? Number one is, like I said, this conversation needs to be driven from the top level. So if it's a small business, maybe as an SME with 5-10 people, the CEO or the leader should have that at the core of their mind. And you can have what we call basic security. Basic security is maybe antivirus on your mobile device, on your servers, on your laptops, basic antivirus that will just help you from maybe what we call phishing attacks, like I said, malware, ransomware, all these attacks, basic level. Now, once you do that, you can go to other things now. If you have a big organization, now you go to network security. Now, if you have an organization that has an office, you have servers here and there, you have a network, now you go to your perimeter security, you get your firewall, you protect all those things. Now, once you graduate, now you can have what we call policies. Policies are very important. Policies will say, in this organization, this is how strong our passwords should be. In this organization, this is how often we should change our password. In this organization, this is allowed, this is not allowed. Yeah.
Breaches happen.
Yes, we do.
And attacks are successful sometimes. As late as yesterday, we were covering a story about an Australian airline, Qantas. They had an entire data breach, and they're trying to see, how bad it was. So how does a firm or an entity recover from a breach?
Fun fact, by the way. Do you know how long it takes for any organization to know that they've been breached?
Do tell.
Just guess.
I have no idea.
No, just guess. I'll guess.
2 hours.
2 hours, okay.
Yeah.
A second guess?
30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
On average, this is average. They might be more, it might be less.
Yeah.
On average, it takes an organization 3 quarters of a year. That is 9 months to actually know that they have been hacked or there's an intruder in their network.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that is bad.
That is bad. It is bad. It is bad. So whatever you see, I know there are legislations, especially in Europe and US, whereby you need to report as soon as you get it. But in Kenya, it's a bit lax, so you may not really hear about it. However, how do you recover from a breach? Number one is do not panic. That sounds elementary, but it is human tendency to panic. Do not panic, stay calm. Right. Now, I would advise any organization to have what we call an incident response plan. An incident response plan is basically your playbook. Should we get hit, what are we doing? So it will say, okay, fine, once we have noted that we've been breached, who will be notified? What are the steps to ensure that we secure our network from a further spread of this particular attack? Can we recover? So number one is do not panic. Number two, activate your incident response plan. And number three is, do you have backup? What is backup? Basically, backup is where you have a repository of all your data somewhere else. Rule of thumb is you have to have 3, 2, 1. 3 copies of backup on 2 different medias. One of them should be offsite. What do I mean? If you're backing up on tape, if you're backing up on physical, if you're backing on cloud, those should be 3. Then on 2 different medias. Then the one should be offsite, away from your office, away from your physical location, so that you can always recover. Now, if you have backup, you can easily recover. But if you don't have backup, that is where now you need to go and face the board and tell them, okay, fine, this is the reality on the ground. This is how much we're being asked for. Can we pay? I know practitioners usually say do not pay, and I understand why they say do not pay, because you are actually enabling cybercrime. You're enabling other things like trafficking, like drug abuse, whatnot. However, in such a scenario, if you have an organization's 10-year history that is held at ransom, what do? You do not have backup. I'm not advocating for paying, but I'm saying have those tough conversations. So I would say before you get to that particular breach, make sure you have backup. And don't just have backup, always test your backup. Because what happens is you're taking backup, but you don't test your backup. What do I mean? Basically, taking your backup and putting it in your environment and seeing, is it usable? Is it actually what we backed up? Does it make sense to us? So that when the day comes when you need to restore it, it is actually accurate, it is on point, and it is relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very important conversation we are having. We are talking about matters cyber security in Kenya, and we are getting into the details of what you need to do as an individual, what institutions need to do, as well as just the cybersecurity ecosystem in general. And on the issue of building an ecosystem, it's beyond just having vendors, who are offering cybersecurity services here and there.
Yeah.
What needs to be done? Speak to the collaboration that needs to be done to ensure that we achieve building a resilient ecosystem.
Okay. I would say for you to achieve a resilient ecosystem, number one, again, I will emphasize this, needs to start from the top. Because it's very difficult for me at the low level to say, we need to have ABCD, nobody will listen. But it comes from the top. It's easy to push policy, because policy is driven by management, by top management. So you need to have a policy as far as cybersecurity is concerned. Then, like you rightfully said, collaboration, sharing is caring. It should not be a preserve of IT. It's also finance. It's also of procurement. It's also for, any other department. Then there's what we call ZTN, Zero Trust Network, or Zero Trust Technology. I don't know whether you've heard of that. Basically, it is a methodology or a framework that says, has 3 core principles. It's a bit advanced, but it works. 3 core principles. Number one, never trust, always verify. Number 2, implement least privilege. Number 3, assume breach. So previously it used to be, once you're in the network, you can do anything that you want. Once you log into your to your corporate network, you can access every other account. However, in Never Trust But Always Verify says that even if you are a trusted entity, at every level you want to access a new resource or a different resource, you'll always be asked to say, who are you? How does this work? When I came in, I was asked, who are you? Who are you coming to see? Can you give me proof of who you say you are? Now I gave my ID, left my ID, I was given a tag, came in. Now at every level, where are you going? Who are you going to see? In a network, it should be the same thing. Now the opposite to that is like, once I enter, I've given my ID, I can roam free. I can come right here, in the middle of a broadcast and do my thing. That is not good. So that is never trust, never trust, always verify. Number 2 is implement least privilege. You will only have the rights, or you only have the ability to do what you need to do.
Right.
You can only access a room only when you need to access it. You won't have the keys to the entire kingdom at all times. Only access what you need to access. And number 3 is assume breach. Assume you've already been hacked. As I told you, it takes on average three quarters of a year, 9 months, for an organization to know that they've been hacked. So you always need to have that mindset. What if somebody is already listening to what I'm saying? What if somebody is already on my network? How would I react? Now that's why we go into deeper things like network segmentation, identity access management, but we won't talk into that.
Right.
Yeah.
When you talked about 9 months to realize that you've been hacked or there's a breach, what can be done to lessen that time, or to just, have signals? What signals can cybersecurity experts and even people who are not really experts look out for to catch this breach?
Okay, I'll talk from the layman perspective,
Right.
or everyday user, then go to the maybe enterprises.
Please go ahead.
From a layman perspective or from an everyday user, you need to be very, very keen on what is happening on your accounts. Are you receiving a lot of failed login attempts, or somebody is trying to access your attempt? Are you checking those indicators? Are you getting messages of random OTPs? If you get such messages, then you need to go and change your password. Now, if you're logged in and you're seeing strange posts, that is something that you need to take note of. If your machine, for example, is showing incredibly slowness, incredible slowness, like unusual slowness, there are pop-ups, it sounds creepy, but at times, things just happen on your machine, then that can be an indicator. On your mobile device, because you spend a lot of time on our mobile devices, again, slowness, pop-ups on your machine, are you getting random messages here and there? That can be an indicator of compromise, and then you'll fall back to what I said you need to do, or actually I didn't say you do. Once you notice some of those things, number 1 is you need to change your password. Number 2, you can install an antivirus on your mobile device or your laptop. And number 3, you can also go and see a cybersecurity professional to try and help you, and they will just advise you accordingly. Now, for organizations, they need to for organizations. Right. Now, for organizations, like I said earlier on, they need to have what we call an incident response plan. They need to have a cybersecurity team in place. Unfortunately, I've seen in experience that it is left to one guy to do everything. Cybersecurity nowadays is wide. You've heard of the Office of the Data Protection. That's a different office. There's a different office that does maybe the penetration testing. Penetration testing basically is trying to brute force your network or check how strong it is.
Right.
Then there's the compliance. So there are different levels. Invest in people. Invest in resources. Invest also in awareness. Yep.
Speaking of people, we know that there's a shortage of cybersecurity professionals in the country. And of course, we are adopting technology, using it in virtually everything, including in our homes. So the demand is only getting bigger. Why is this gap so big? And of course, it's going to continue growing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a different school of thought, if I may. I would say there is not really a lack of cybersecurity professionals. I would say there is there's a wrong perception of who a cybersecurity professional is.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. This demand might be artificial. It might be. I'm not saying it is, but it might. Because if you go on LinkedIn or you go to job boards, they're looking for entry-level positions. Now, entry-level positions, this person should have had 3 years experience. That's a contradiction, right? They should have 5 to 6 certifications. How? It's an entry-level position. So you'll see there'll always be adverts for cybersecurity professionals. But even if you apply, you won't get that job because there's a skewment, there's a bit of a skew in terms of how HR are actually recruiting for these particular positions. So I would say HR also need to know what level they are hiring. You can't be entry level and you're asking for 5 certifications. You can't be entry level and you're asking for cloud, you're asking for database, you're asking for network. Those are 3 different jobs. You want to combine it at an entry level. Now, why am I saying that it may be a bit skewed is because also there's a huge drive in cybersecurity for certifications. There's no other industry where there's a lot of emphasis on certifications. Get this certification, get this certification. Now, it is good, but it can also be artificially driven. And the promise is get this certification, and they're not cheap, by the way. Get this certification, and you will land a job within 3 months. Somebody will go invest in that certification, and after 3 months, they still don't have a job. So it might be artificially skewed. However, there is a need. Whether there's a gap, I'm not too sure. But there's a need for more cybersecurity professionals. And I would say to maybe any HR person who's listening or anybody who hires for cybersecurity professionals, talk to people who are in the field. Don't look for what we call unicorn hires. Unicorn hires do not exist. Just like unicorns do not exist. You won't get a guy who can do everything in your organization. You need to appropriately hire.
And from the training side of things, ensuring that there are more people who are graduating or advancing in education with cybersecurity skills. How can that be done?
Well, there needs to be a lot of private-public partnership. And we've seen a lot of that. The government has come up with an AI framework. The government is collaborating in the private sector to give, entry-level knowledge as far as cybersecurity is concerned. And we are seeing a lot of organizations, I won't mention them, but many multinationals as well as local organizations are actually having free cybersecurity training, free webinars, free what we call boot camps where you can go and learn about this. And that is really helping because Kenya is really placed at the forefront as far as technology is concerned in Africa. Multinationals are coming to set up shop here. We are being recruited, people are being recruited from LinkedIn because of their skills. So the government and the private sector are actually doing a good job. What I would say is they need to make some of these things more accessible at low cost to somebody who may be underprivileged, but they have a dream, they have the passion, they have potential. Give it to them.
And I have heard some experts saying that cybersecurity should not just be studied by people who are venturing into tech-related courses, that it should be integrated into the system pretty early on. What are your thoughts on this?
It's very true. I was chatting to a friend of mine who is doing a PhD in medical research biology. I'm not too sure, but they work with Kemri. So they'll tell me that right now what they're doing, they're actually learning to code so that they can automate some of the processes they are doing. They can come up with models that will help them properly identify strains of diseases, of new diseases, properly do that job. So you see, that's a researcher. Maybe biology was needed when they were applying for that course, chemistry or physics. But as they're in that field, they've seen that there's a need for us to actually know coding. So I agree with that. It should be taught at an elementary level. I believe during the Kibaki administration, they had, was it Kibaki or Uhuru? I'm not too sure. But they had brought tablets, digitizing and exposing children to digital skills at a learning.
It was the last administration.
It was the last administration. Okay, yes. They tried that, the tabs and whatnot. This is very important because once people grow up with some of these skills, even if they diversify to become a mechanic or a cook, you see they will embed security in their expertise and do that job efficiently, as well as doing what we call value addition. And it will differentiate you in a flooded market.
That is very important. Thank you, Alan, for your thoughts. We are talking about cybersecurity in Kenya with Alan Juma, who is a cybersecurity engineer. And if you have been a victim of a cybersecurity attack, or you have questions, on matters protecting yourself, protecting your company, do get in touch with us at KBC Channel 1 on Twitter or across our social media platforms. My personal handle is at Betty Kiptum, and I shall be throwing some of your questions to Alan within the course of this particular conversation. Kenya has come a long way in terms of putting together its regulatory side of things in terms of technology, cybersecurity, data protection. We have the Data Protection Act of 2019. Recently, we had the Kenya Cybersecurity Strategy launched, which is supposed to, it's a plan for 2025 to 2029. as a professional in that field, do share your thoughts about the government intention or intent in terms of dealing with cybersecurity.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I would say Kenya is actually at the forefront of some of these things.
Right.
I'll take it back a bit. A couple of years ago, as the AU, African Union, came up with what we call the Malamo Agreement. Basically, it was about cybersecurity, how cybersecurity will be done in the continent, you know, because they realized that cybersecurity is an important thing. And we saw not many countries picked this up, but Kenya has actually picked it up. Like you said, we have the Data Protection Act, we have the cybersecurity law, we have a cybersecurity framework, we have an AI framework, we have all these things framework. And government, I would give it props. The people in government are actually doing a lot to ensure that we are at the edge of, you know, technology. Not at the edge, but we are leading as far as technology is concerned. Right. So the government is doing a lot of awareness. The government is doing a lot of emphasis and also policy regulation. And this, you know, one thing I like about this is that the government is not saying we know it all. There was a call for experts in that particular field. Come, let's sit down and see how can we come up with a framework that we can use, for example, AI in an ethical manner and also to protect ourselves. So I'd say the government is actually helping in that particular area in terms of legislation.
Right.
Yeah.
Supporting cybersecurity startups, is there room for this as opposed to outsourcing our resilience, so to say, supporting locally grown businesses in this space?
Yeah, but it would not be really supporting cybersecurity startups. Right. It would be supporting startups with cybersecurity. Okay. Cybersecurity given by locals. Yes. Now, like Alan, you will come, I'll tell you, you need to do A, B, C, D. So it is important. You're never too small or too insignificant to have cybersecurity. I mean, your IG account can be hacked just for the likes. People in primary schools have IG accounts and they are hacked like nobody's business. People in campus, people in university, people in high school, they've been hacked. So there is need for any organization, big or small, even if you have an M-Pesa shop, you know, cybersecurity should be embedded in your M-Pesa shop. Even if you're just a tailor, I'm sure you have maybe on GG or on maybe on, I don't know, any other platform where you're advertising yourself, or even on WhatsApp. You've heard of WhatsApp takeovers, right? People's accounts being taken over. So cybersecurity is really, it is needed, like you're rightfully saying, it is needed at all levels, whether big or small. Yeah.
I like that you brought that up. I mean, when you think of cybersecurity, people are thinking softwares and all that, but even that Instagram account is very important. We know what happened with our neighbors. Some of the social media handles were taken over, you know, and things posted. So it is more than just software. Actually, it is a frame of mind. Right. It is a state of mind. I mean, just like when we were growing up, we were told when you go to the city, when you go to Nairobi CBD, you do not talk to anybody, you do not greet anybody, you go to where you're going and you come back. Even brushing shoulders. Exactly. Now, that is security. Now, we need to take that mindset now to the interwebs. I mean, we are busy liking all posts and accepting all friend requests from everybody. So the same mindset should be taken now online as well. People have been told that they are sometimes dealing with bots and not people. And of course this comes with AI. I'm not even sure if this is an AI generated bot or something like that. Tell me what your thoughts are in terms of the ethics of AI, the ethical considerations of AI. I know that the industry is split on a lot of things on that, but please share your thoughts.
AI is here, and business people and people should be asking themselves, is it that I will use AI? Am I ready for AI? Because it's here with us. AI will help, but like you rightfully said, it needs to be governed. I've had complaints. Like yesterday, I was trying to get in touch with a network operator, I won't say which one. And, you know, the shortcodes they were providing, it was just AI after AI, a bot after bot, a voice prompt after voice prompt. And at times, we really need to speak to a human being.
I need to speak to someone.
So, whereas it is good, also organizations don't need to, they need to know that you cannot really, you know, automate everything. Yes, some things that you can be automated, but there are things that can also not be replaced. The human touch is very, very important. Customer care is very important. So on the ethical nature of AI, it needs to be driven by policy, by framework, and this is driven by government and enforced by the private practitioners, so that even as we are developing, if I know that this particular model or this particular system or a tool will expose data in one way or the other, it is upon me now to say that, oh, it may do A, B, C, D, where we prioritize ethics over finances.
Yeah. And in terms of building tools and networks and products in the tech industry for this particular context, this market. The other day I was on LinkedIn and there was a whole conversation about how, because a lot of AI is being trained from this market, things are being flagged as AI generated because we are training it with our content. For instance, someone's thesis was returned back to them. They had actually passed. They were going for their first class honors and it had to be returned because the system flagged it as AI generated. Yet a lot of Kenyans are the ones doing these things, even for the West, the Western education system. So I would like to hear from you how we can achieve a balance, because at this rate, everything will be flagged as AI generated at some point. And they say that by, is it 2030, the artificial intelligence will just be as intelligent as humans or even more?
That's what they say.
That's what they say, yes. I said they say. Yeah, so how can we achieve a balance?
It goes back to policy and also as individuals, our ethics. I'll give you an example. Like last year, I believe I forgot the name, but the ones who own ChatGPT. Forgot the example.
OpenAI.
OpenAI, thank you, yes. Yeah. When you're on camera, things disappear.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
So OpenAI actually sued because how did they come up with, I mean, you can go to ChatGPT and come up with a book within seconds. Just give it a prompt here and there, but where did it learn how to write like that? It scanned already existing data. Already existing material. And now they were being hacked because, especially by New York Times, or like, you used our database to generate an AI not benefiting from it. Now, how do you legislate that? How do you say this is ethical and this is not ethical? You just have to come to a round table and come up with policies. And also, us as individuals, we need to have that ethical background whereby whatever we are doing, we're doing it ethically. And if somebody needs to be credited or it needs to be compensated for their work, then it needs to be done so. But it's a really difficult conversation or argument, because where do you draw the line on what is ethical and what is not? So it's a gray area. I won't lay on either, but I'll say legislation will help a lot of these things. And I'm pretty sure from that particular lawsuit, it will change how AI is done and how AI is implemented all over the world.
And of course, legislation cannot just be domiciled within a country or within a region. It has to be across borders. Commercial Competition Commission was saying yesterday that intellectual property rights, the laws are very fragmented across the region. And so implementing them against these tech companies or people who are infringing on these rights online is very difficult. One law says this in Kenya, the other one says this in Uganda, so how are we doing this?
We need to harmonize it, right? For example, like GDPR, the European, it's the gold standard for data protection. Every country that is in Europe, they came up with one policy. This is what we will do as far as cybersecurity is concerned. Sorry, not cybersecurity, data protection is concerned. And this applies to all EU citizens, whether you're in EU, whether in US or whatnot. If you're an organization operating in EU, you have to follow the same standards. The same thing needs to be done in East Africa. In Africa, that's why I'm talking about the Malamo Agreement. It was a broad-based agreement or framework to how will we deal with cybersecurity. Unfortunately, not many countries have actually taken it up. So we need to grow to that level whereby, like you're saying, we are not fragmented, but we come together. However, it may take a lot of time because of geopolitical issues and, issues that we cannot speak of.
Right. And even as the slow pace of legislation continues, AI and technology is moving very rapidly. It is moving at fast rate, They say that Gen Alpha, their jobs are yet to come, Their jobs are not yet here.
Actually, there's that fear that jobs will be declared redundant. And yes, there are millions of jobs that might be declared redundant, because I was just reading today morning that IBM is firing of, I think, 1,000 or 3,000 individuals because they're using AI. However, AI will also create so many jobs.
Right.
Like the people who are actually coming up with the models, generative models from Kenya, you know, teaching it the prompts, whatnot. Those are jobs that didn't exist 5 years ago. So jobs will be lost, but jobs will be created. So on which side of the divide will we want to be?
Right. So it's about equipping yourself with the skills that are required, and of course learning and relearning.
Future-proofing yourself, basically.
Right. And so there are many people who are maybe 40s and above or 35 and above, and with the way technology has moved, they might be feeling like they're chasing it. It's moving very fast ahead of them, and of course scaling in the job market or even moving to new industries might be difficult. What would be your message to them?
Before I answer, there's this YouTube ad that I think you've seen it. Teenagers are using AI. I know you're using AI for prompts, but
teenagers are using AI to build companies and are thriving.
I don't like that ad.
Neither do I.
Are we displaying our age? But I mean, if you stop learning, you will cease to be relevant. So even people over 40 need to keep themselves up to date. You know, technology will always evolve. It will always change. So we always need to be proactive. You can't wait for your manager or for your boss to say, you know what, you need some upskilling, or you know, you need to go for a course. Do it for your own self, and you will remain relevant even in the years to come. I like what Safaricom do. They are always innovating. Just starting from, you know, a telecommunications company, now they're in fintech, now they're doing great things, even telehealth. You know, that is innovation, learning, and individuals over 40, not even over 40, at any age, they need to reinvent themselves over and over and over again.
Wow, thank you so much, Alan, for your thoughts. This is a very interesting conversation on matters cyber security. About 44 minutes past the hour. We'd like to take a quick break. When we come back, we shall be continuing with a conversation with Alan Juma, who is a cybersecurity engineer, talking about how to ensure that Kenya is enhancing its cybersecurity from an individual perspective, institutional as well as a national perspective. Do stay with Channel 1.
Shaba National Reserve spans approximately 250 square kilometers, characterized by rolling hills, acacia woodlands, and the meandering Ewasungiro River. The unique topography creates a striking contrast against the backdrop of the arid plains, offering a picturesque setting that is both serene and dramatic. The river, which serves as the lifeblood of the reserve, attracts wildlife, making it a prime spot for game viewing. Shaba is known for its large populations of elephants, reticulated giraffes, and grievous zebras, some of the rarest animals in Africa. Birdwatchers will delight in the rich avifauna, with over 300 species recorded, including the striking Somali ostrich and the vibrant violet-breasted roller.
Not just giraffe, a reticulated giraffe, brevis zebra, Somali ostrich, long-necked gazelle or gerenuk, and the oryx, the Isa oryx. So those animals are only found in the northern part of the country.
Beyond its natural beauty, Shaba National Reserve is steeped in cultural significance. The reserve is located near the traditional lands of the Samburu people, a semi-nomadic pastoralist community known for their vibrant customs and colorful attire. Visitors to Shaba have the unique opportunity to engage with the Samburu, learning about their way of life, traditions, and the symbiotic relationship they share with the land and its wildlife. Chuma Odim, Magical Sense.
Thank you for staying with Channel 1. That was Irene Muchuma Odim there with an edition of Magical Scenes from Shaba. And of course, be sure to visit any part of Kenya. It's good to tembea Kenya. Our country is very beautiful. In studio, we continue with our conversation here with Alan Juma, who is a cybersecurity engineer, and we are talking about enhancing cybersecurity. We now want to talk about what technology is doing in terms of healthcare. Yeah, specifically on matters telehealth. Please go ahead.
Okay, so telehealth actually is, once COVID hit, a lot of organizations decided to go online, automate the process and take advantage of technology. And healthcare was not left behind. But it actually started quite a while ago. I don't know if they remember, back in the day, Safaricom used to have dial-a-doctor service. Whereby you'd actually do a short code and speak to a doctor and tell them of your symptoms, and they would recommend medication or anything like that. That is basically telehealth, providing health services via technology. Now, it's a new field, and there are actually so many startups in Kenya. They're called health tech startups, who are trying to automate the delivery of medical services, especially in far-flung areas, remote areas, and just making things easier. An example would be, I just spoke to an individual who they're coming up with a way of digitizing the scans. When you go for an X-ray, you get your scan. What do you do with that particular scan? You just keep it in your home and maybe you destroy it. Yeah. But now they're collecting that data to ensure that you don't have to to make that process whereby you build a database that you no longer even have to have those physical documents. You can just go take a scan and the solution will actually tell you what is wrong there and then from wherever you are. But from cybersecurity perspective, they're facing a lot of challenges because health sector deals with what you call EHR, electronic health records, and PII, personal identifiable information. Now, this is sensitive information, like your health records. A couple of years ago, on X, previously Twitter, one of the leading hospitals, there was a former member of parliament and a prominent Kenyan who had gone there for a checkup. And this particular individual, so that was a notable person, so they took out their phone and took a photo of their diagnosis and they put it online. So these are some of the dangers. Now, so they deal with what I've called EHR and PII. Now, this is information that if it got into anybody's hands can wreak a lot of havoc. Imagine you are in you're in a hospital and your records cannot be found. They have been encrypted or they have been held at ransom or they are lost. How would that work? Yeah, so we are seeing a lot of attacks and a lot of interest in telehealth, but the beauty is cybersecurity is also trying to, ensure that there is, the data is secure, because you didn't want your medical records or your information to be everywhere online. Yep. Yeah.
So in terms of, because we saw that healthcare providers are part of the people who are being targeted.
Yes, yeah.
Tell me exactly what healthcare providers need to do to ensure that these records are safe, because as you say, they are very sensitive data.
Because they deal with a lot of data, encryption is a must. Encryption of data at rest. What do I mean a data rest? Data that is residing on any device, be it on your phone, on your laptop, or on your server. It needs to be encrypted. And also, as data is being transferred, data in transit, it also needs to be encrypted. What is encryption basically? Is encoding that particular data in a way that cannot be intelligible to any human and cannot be broken by any system, thereby securing that particular data from any unauthorized access. The other thing that the medical providers or medical field need to do is update their systems. So many of their systems are legacy. And it's difficult. I understand it is expensive to actually upgrade these systems, but they need to keep up with technology. And number 3 is ensure they have secure systems. Every device in a hospital should be at the minimum have an antivirus or have what we call a DLP, data loss prevention, so that data does not leave that particular organization.
So looking forward in terms of cybersecurity, especially for Kenya, what do you see?
I see a bright and rosy future, but I also see a dark cloud in the horizon.
Okay.
Bright and rosy future because the younger generation are really uptaking cybersecurity. There's an interest in that, and because now the level, the playing ground has been a bit level because of globalization. People have access to, papers from Harvard. People have access to papers from, South Africa, where so they can equip themselves and learn online.
Yeah.
The dark cloud is, in as much as people are also learning, malicious actors are also learning, and they're advancing at a fast rate. And unfortunately, it might be that we are trying to play a game of catch-up if we do not show up our defenses and if all sectors do not come together and hold hands. But by and large, I see a good future, a secure future for Kenya as far as cybersecurity is concerned.
Right.
Yeah.
Just before we close, I'd like you to remind the viewers how to protect themselves. We have seen so many complaints. I'm losing money from my, mobile banking or mobile money platform. And a lot of times you go to the institution and they tell you, you're the one who gave the password.
Yeah, true.
You're the one who gave your ID number and all that stuff. And your password was your birthday or your name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So just remind us exactly what we need to do on an individual perspective so that we are protected. Yeah.
Okay. From an individual perspective, I started by saying you need to be a skeptic. For those of you who are parents, or for those who are listening who are parents, there's what we call stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers. If a stranger approaches you, this is what you need to do. Same thing goes online. Don't accept any friend request that comes online. Even if somebody calls you and says they're from ABC organization, always be a skeptic. It's highly unlikely that they have chosen you to receive 10 million Kenya shillings. Highly unlikely, so always be a skeptic. Always have what you call password hygiene. Have a secure password. And don't use the same password on different accounts. If really it is difficult, have a password manager. Have one secure password that will protect that password manager and save all these other passwords in that particular password manager. But you need to have good password hygiene. They say a good password is like a toothbrush. Do not share it, change it regularly, and keep it fresh.
I like that analogy. Yeah.
Do not expose it, do not share it, and change it regularly. And also ensure that on all your accounts you have 2FA, and also be a person who would want to learn more about cybersecurity. You see the way we go online after a certain event nationally has happened, who was this, blah, 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 what did happen. Let's be people who actually want to learn about cybersecurity so that we can protect ourselves and our loved ones. It is not just a preserve for a few people. It is for everybody's use, because you have loved ones, children, the old, your house helps, your workers. They all are individuals who access online and need to protect them. Yep.
We need to protect ourselves. Thank you so much, Alan. I think we have learned quite a lot from you. As the viewer, I hope that you have learned something on how to protect your data, protect your phone, your computer, your devices, whatever it is, because technology is here with us. AI is here with us. We are not running away from it. We have to learn how to coexist with it and protect ourselves. That was Alan Juma, who is a cybersecurity engineer discussing enhancing cybersecurity in the country. When we come back in the next hour of Bizcheck, we shall be talking about Kenya-UK ties. And we know that the president was there just this week. And we just want to see where that relationship is going. Do stay with Channel 1.